Doing video. So this is going to be the new mic and speaker. When you need to share screen, just press share screen. Do you think we need the camera to face the room?
It's okay. I mean, we're gonna do a presentation, so
yeah,
so people won't look at us.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Perfect. Hello, test. 1, 2, 3.
Can you hear us, guys?
Hello.
Yep.
Yep.
Cool. Great.
And then the last thing was to make sure that this is going to be recorded.
Oh yeah, it's recording currently.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Other than that, are you guys comfortable just running this?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate
Not
it.
a problem. You guys have fun.
For sure.
Do we have a agenda today?
Yeah, there were. I saw. I added an item, and there was one other on it. Well, oh yeah, your item was the other one.
All right. Release cadence. Okay, cool. All right, let's wait for 1 more minute and get started.
Sounds good.
All right, I think let's get started. Welcome to the Dev Sync today for Mesos project. And this meeting will be recorded, so be careful. And we have 2 agenda items today. One is I'm going to talk about 2 Docker container images that we have right now for Mesos project. And I'm going to talk about why we need those Docker images and how we can use that for developing frameworks or just play with Mesos. And then I think Greg is going to talk about the release cadence. Cool. So I'm going to go talk about the two Docker images I introduced recently. I'm going to talk about Mesos Mini first. I already sent an email to the dev list and user list about this, but I just want to do some demo and show you guys how to use this so that you guys knows about this. So basically, we have a Docker Hub account for Mesos project called Mesos. And under the Mesos organization, there's a bunch of images. I'm not sure how many of them are actually active, but we keep adding those Docker container and Docker images into that repo. So one of them is the one that I recently introduced called Mesos Mini. So this Docker image basically bundle a bunch of Mesos related stuff into one single Docker image. And then when you just do a Docker run, you're gonna get one single Mesos master, one single Mesos agent, a Docker daemon inside that container, a Marathon, the latest version of Marathon inside that container image. So that you just do a Docker run and then you can have the whole stack. It's very nice if you want to develop a framework. And the reason we introduced that is because as part of the work that we are trying to do for storage, we need a way to quickly test Mesos against Mesos APIs and Operator APIs. And this is the best way we came up during that process. It simplifies our end-to-end testing with Mesos as a framework writer. So I'm going to show you how to use that. It's very simple. Assuming you have Docker installed, just do a Docker run. I think it's pretty. Sorry, I didn't prepare this demo, but let's just.
So the Docker daemon inside of this container is from the host.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that. Let me try to run this first. It's privilege. Am I spelled correctly?
I think that's right.
Yeah, it's gonna. Yeah, so it's as simple as just running that single Docker run, and you have to run as privilege mode because we kind of run a Docker daemon inside that container as well, and you need privilege mode to be able to run that Docker daemon. Well, it's pretty slow. I should have downloaded before that. Anyway, so that's why. Yeah, I forgot one thing. I should do one more thing. Anyway, let's wait for this to finish first. Okay, so this will just download the latest mini. So I have a Jenkins job. I can talk about that first. So if you go to, so we have a Mesos Jenkins folder that have all the Jenkins job related to Mesos, Apache Mesos Jenkins. I think there's a job called Mesos Mini. What this job is going to do is it will try to build the latest Mesos head daily. So it's trying to push a version of the Mesos Mini container to Docker Hub every single day with the current head of the Mesos releases. So if you go to Docker Hub and you look at the tags, the tag itself is actually the date where that image, the image where the image is being generated, when the image is generated, and there's a latest tag, which is the latest image. So it will be so the latest I'm pulling right now is per like yesterday night. Okay, so this one's running. Sorry, I need to stop that and rerun that because I forgot the port map. You have to do you map the relevant port. So you need to do like 5050 to your 5050 and 5051. And you have to do 8080, which is the marathon port. And then just run that. And then you can just go to, wait a second. Yeah, I think I have another stuff. Okay, let's just do that. All right, so you just run that, have all these port mapping 5050 to your local host 5050, and also the agent port and also the marathon port, and you can just see, oh, there's a Mesos UI show up. That means the whole stack is running, and there's one single agent connected. And if you go to 8080, which will be the marathon UI, and then you can create applications like, and you can create like Docker containers. Let's just do one Docker container. And you can do that. Now use Docker containers. And you can go to Mesos UI, see that container is actually running, and you can go to Sandbox and see all the, and all these things are just working. So what you can do now is you can Docker PS and just get the container ID. You can enter Docker container and see what's going on there. So what's happening there is that's all the process running right now inside that container, and all the services. I mean, I'm basically using systemd to manage agent master marathon Docker daemon. So if you do a Docker PS here, you can see actually the inside that container. You can see the actual container that we just created through marathon. And that daemon has nothing to do with the Docker daemon outside of the container. It's embedded in that inside the same container. And if you go to agent flag, I try to mimic all the production agent flags. So turn on all the isolators that we can turn on. Well, most of the isolators that we can turn on. So it's like a very similar to what we run in production. So it's not like a playground. You can actually run UCRs. You can run and it's subject to C groups. And the C group is properly nested under Docker C group so that it will get properly cleaned up once you terminate that Docker container. Yeah, and then you can restart. I mean, as part of the unit test, like what we figure out is it would be nice to test the flow like master failover, agent failover. So in order to simulate that in that container, what you can do is just like Docker exec, and then you can just do systemd CTL restart Mesos master, and it will just restart master to simulate a master failover, or restart agent to simulate a Mesos, like a Mesos agent failover. So that will be easy for front writer to test their failover logic or reconciliation logic. Cool. So it'll be pretty easy for them to do. All right, so that's the Mesos Mini. Any question? Any question? Okay.
I wonder what it would take to get a Windows version of that running. We have a master working on Windows. I have Java bits on Windows built. I don't think I've ever built like the Mesos Java library, though. Although I think I have. I think I actually have, because we have unit test passing. I'm really curious if I could get a Mesos mini stack with Marathon running on Windows. All the components but Marathon I've tested on Windows. That would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be
interesting.
interesting.
Have a Mesos mini Windows. It'd be great. I'll take a look.
Yeah, that you will take a look. I think the code of that is, if you go to Mesos support Mesos mini, so the Docker file is actually here. So go to support Mesos mini Docker file. That's the Docker file I used to build that container image. So basically, like, so as you can see here, it relies on Mesos CentOS. I'm gonna talk about that later, like next. Like how do I build this one? But the rest is just like a bunch of systemd stuff: install Docker, install Mesos, install Marathon, and then renders an entry point there. If you look at the entry point, it's basically, yeah, I have to do some workaround to deal with this Docker in Docker thing. But at the end, just exactly init, which is systemd. So it's the same thing. Yeah, and there's some systemd files that I use to launch Marathon, launch Docker, and launch Mesos. Anyway, so the source file is here. There's some configuration file, like what's the agent flags, like what the isolation you're gonna use, and what's the master environment, like what the master flag is gonna be set up, and you can customize that. The nice thing about that is you can just take that Docker image and do your own customization to fit your needs. So that's also possible. Just do it from this mini and then the rest of the changes they want to do in that image. Okay, so that's one job that I have here called Mesos Mini. The other job I have here is called, yeah, this is failing, I don't know why. I need to dig into that and see why it fails. Why it fails. That means master is flaky. Anyway, so I have a Mesos Docker on CentOS. If you go to Docker Hub, the image name is actually Mesos CentOS. So this one actually have Mesos RPM installed in a CentOS-based Docker image, and that's it. And what you can do is you can just build your Docker image from this Docker image, and then do the rest of the things that you want to do, like Mesos Mini. Or you can just like leverage this one. For example, you can do something like this. You can do Docker run --rm well, you don't need privilege. You can just do Mesos CentOS, like Mesos master --for third equals to /10 Mesos. You can do something like this. That will just start a Mesos master. Let's try. Yeah, that will just start a Mesos master. And then you can do like Mesos. You can start agent too. So this is just like a very simple Docker container. It's also using the latest head and then push to that Docker registry every single day. There's a nightly CI job that push. So that's a way allow you to test new features. So just like not include all these Marathon or Mesos, like you don't have a systemd there that you just, so it's a basic thing that you can use to launch your Mesos agent or Mesos master, and don't have those fancy systemd setups like we did in Mini. And this is the basics of this Mini Mesos Mini Docker container. And I think that's it. I mean, that's basically, I want to just give you guys kind of make you guys aware of this one. And when you develop framework, it would be nice that if you leverage those, it seems super easy to do integration end-to-end tests with that.
Cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
thank you for doing that.
Yeah. All right. Any question? No? Okay.
So one quick question. So it's very easy for developer to develop new framework with the latest feature, but is there any plan like to push some Mesos Mini for version like for PS version, like 1.4x, 1.3x?
Yeah, so that's possible. It's just a matter of setting up CI for that. Yeah, I can do that. It's not super hard.
I just imagine some people who might not developing new frameworks, but they would like to debugging on some old features. They might need that part.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I should have a Jenkins job for tags and then automatically build those, build a container for a specific tag.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people
Shouldn't
who
be too hard.
are working on new frameworks might actually be developing them for deployments of older versions.
Yeah, especially for now, many people using Mesos for production, they're still in 1.2.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. I'll do that. I should take pretty fast to do. All right.
Cool. So yeah, I want to talk about the release cadence. I sent out an email to the dev list. This is like a perennial topic that we discuss every now and then. And I think my primary motivation was just to get us to a point where our stated policy and the documentation matches what we're doing in practice. So like you saw in my email, in practice over the last year or two, we've been releasing every 3 to 4 months. And our policy states every 2 months, like strict time-based. But we do 3 to 4 months kind of feature-based, where we tend to cut the release whenever some select features have landed. So I think Jita was the only one who had weighed in on the mailing list so far, so I thought I'd bring it up here while we had some folks around. I've heard kind of like some mixed responses on both sides. And I myself kind of have, I think the original motivation for a shorter cadence was that we could lower the burden of a particular release, so that it was just kind of a routine process that could be easily automated to put a release out. We haven't actually attempted to automate any of that. But I think because the releases are a bit longer, it does tend to be a bit more burdensome process. So I'm curious to hear any opinions that you guys have about that.
Yeah, I'm about to reply to that thread, but
Okay.
yeah, my comments here is like, I feel like on infrastructure software, like release too fast is probably not gonna help, because most people I know about still run like 1.2. They haven't upgraded to a newer version, like they haven't run like 1.3 or 1.4 yet.
Yeah.
And the upgrade like cadence tends to be low. I don't see a strong motivation to do more releases, given that people are not willing to upgrade very frequently. So
Yeah.
what's the point of maintaining that many releases? It's just a burden for us to maintain those releases.
I think this can be addressed by like maintaining more past releases, but yeah, it's an overhead.
Right, and then we have greater backport burden if we support a larger number of versions.
Yeah, I think only the counter argument is like the longer the release cadence is, it's very hard to do a bisect. Like if you find some bugs in one major release, I mean, there's a lot of patches you have to go through to see what might go wrong in that release.
Yeah.
So that might be one argument against have a longer cadence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that. It's obviously a trade-off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is really like a balance to me, because like let's say if we like do the release for every 6 months, and I would say like it's much more harder to maintain the previous release version, because recently Brett and myself, we tried to backport some fix from 1.5 to 1.2, and which is kind of painful, especially when we try to backport to 1.3 and 1.2. We fix a lot of conflicts, and then we have to cherry pick a lot of dependency, and we have to figure out like what dependency it has impact on our fix. And some of the dependency patches, we have to modify it and then keep parts of it, which is useful for us, and then remove some parts of it, which will break the compilation. So yeah, for my personally, I would like to suggest like stick with the seasonal release, which is keep it as in the middle of not too frequent or not too like long don't have yet.
Yeah.
Do we have any policy on how many releases back we support? Like,
Our
yeah.
Our current policy is that we support 6 months back, which implies 3 releases.
Mm-hmm. So releasing more open wouldn't mean that we would have to support more releases with?
Yeah, well, it depends on what, like,
Yeah.
we could keep, yeah, we could keep that current policy or modify it. But if we kept it at 6 months, then, yeah, I mean, I feel like supporting a particular number of releases seems good to me. Like, that's something that people could rely on.
Yeah.
Well, it's related, right? If you do releases every month, then having 3 releases doesn't make sense. That means you only support 3 months of releases.
Yeah.
That part doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and my comment is it's related. It's
Yeah.
Like isolated.
Yeah, like one option would be to just formalize, like if we think what we're doing right now works, we could just formalize what we currently do and explicitly say that it's some combination of time and feature-based, where we intend to release every 3 to 4 months, and we make the decision about when to release based on the completion of features that we're currently working on. If we think that what we're doing right now works pretty well for us, then we can just formalize that in the documentation.
Yeah, that's what we do right now, and I don't see. Yeah, I think it works pretty well. I mean, I mean, it's mainly like feature based, right? So like if people wants to get some feature into a release, I think we can stick to that until that people find out this doesn't work anymore, because there are like more and more features that are being requested, and people want to delay the release to get their feature in. But I don't see that being a problem right now, at least for this project. So I think doing like what we are doing right now makes more sense.
Yeah, and if we did that, then we would probably want to say that we support the last 2 releases.
Last 3, yeah.
Yeah, or like, yeah, the current release and the previous
plus,
2.
Yeah, previous 2.
Yeah.
Do we want to introduce some long-term support version?
LTS is going to be hard, so I'll say like let's not do that until we find that it's absolutely necessary to do that. LTS is always hard. Right? Just imagine you have to backport patches for LTS for like 2 years, like in LTS for 2 years. It's going to be painful, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
do we want to say like a three versions or something like that, or do we want to say like it based on or time or like user demand? Like people request backport, and we might consider that otherwise. I mean, it depends on how strict we want to make it.
Yeah, and also like
right now it seems like it's not strict. There's no like the policy is not being followed.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We can write there.
Well, I think in practice we provide greater support than we specify. Yeah, because we go longer than 6 months. Yeah, I mean, n minus 2 seems reasonable to me. It's like not a terrible burden for backporting, and we could discuss whether or not we want to explicitly say like if users request for their backports. I mean, we could just say like if users request for their backports, we will consider them, something like this.
Yeah, maybe like for the release cadence, we can specify a minimum, like say at least 3 months away from each other. But there's no upper bound. Like, I mean, at least write it down so that like it's consistent with what we're doing right now. Right now it's broken because the thing we say in the doc is not something that we do. Let's fix that. I think let's just specify a minimum time like 3 months.
Yeah.
That we won't do a new release within 3 months, but after 3 months, depends on the feature. What are the features that people are requesting? We're gonna decide when to do that. It's ultimately the release manager that will make the call on this.
Yeah. Anybody online with any thoughts or on other lines? No? Okay. Well, G, if you could reply, that would be great. Anybody else with thoughts, you can reply. And I will also reply in the next 24 hours or so. And that's all I had.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I have a question. We had mentioned in previous meetings about meeting every few weeks and either Twitter or here or stuff like that. I don't know if that's still I don't know. I think it never happened.
Oh, we were
Like,
talking about having other organizations hosting as well. Is that what you mean?
This meeting also like we discussed meeting with our people from our organizations and working for an afternoon together and stuff like that. And I
Yeah,
was
I don't
wondering
know
if
what's the progress there. Shooting.
Yeah. Was there a point of contact at Twitter, I wonder? I'm not sure. I recall that being brought up, and I don't remember who it was who brought it up.
I think it was Judith and Benage.
Okay. Okay. I can ping Judith and Ben H. Did you add an action item for me, G?
Yeah, it's the face-to-face meeting. Well, sorry, the meeting hosted by other companies.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
How much time? We have like 20 minutes. I could show some of the work that I did a while ago that's been sitting, but I'm kind of working on it again. It's like Mesos LLVM stuff, so basically client format and client tiny stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's some updates on that that I can show if you guys are interested.
Sure.
Yeah.
You want to share or do you want to use my? I can.
You can either join Zoom or get on there.
I gotta join Zoom.
Yeah.
Is there a doc or is there?
Yeah. So if you go to github.com/mesos/LVM.
Mesos.
Yeah, Mesos/LVM.
LLVM.
Yeah. So this is the GitHub repo that has like formulas basically. So these are scripts that generate binaries that can run on Linux, OS X, and Windows. And so if you scroll up a little bit, G, so there are two Docker files, PS1 file, some Windows crap that I had Andrew write for me, so thanks to him for that. The Ruby files there are homebrew formula, and so we leverage homebrew on OS X to get a portable binary basically. So the Docker file builds a statically linked binary on an old CentOS, from what I remember, so that we link with basically like the oldest libc, glibc, such that it's portable-ish enough. Statically linking is annoying, but I think for the dev tool, it's probably fine. So there's some CI jobs that I've written for Travis and AppBear, which build these binaries and upload them to BinTray. So if you go to, it's not in Jenkins. So if you go to GitHub and click on the link at the top, the BinTray link, sorry, by the title.
Oh,
right, next to the title, yeah. So if you go to files, so the files here are, so this is what I did like end of last year, I guess. So all of these files contain a bin directory and a shared directory, where in the bin directory there are the client format binary and the client tiny binary, and the shared directories have some scripts like client format.py, for example, which you can use to integrate with your bin. Or if you use Emacs, there's a client format.el file or whatever else. So the idea is to first and foremost ship a okay. So there are few motivations. Client format. I don't know how many people have tried to use client format with the file that we have today. It's like pretty good, but the biggest thing that was missing is indentation of arguments and parameters.
Yeah.
So the arguments and parameters took on the same indentation as like continuations, and so the one that ships with this is a version of client format which has a new option for Mesos specific, which is arguments and parameters indent for spaces. And so it's like a tiny patch on top of client format head, which helps us actually use it pretty liberally throughout the code base. If you have it integrated with your editor, it would help you a lot. For client tidy, the motivation there was because some of you might know we have a Mesos tidy job on Jenkins, which checks which runs client tidy all over the code base and gives you violations, basically, tidy violations. But what that doesn't allow us to do is take advantage of client tidy fix-it feature. So, for example, there's use override client tidy check, which will show you places where override can be added. And if you run client tidy with -fix, it'll actually in place add it for you and do those modifications in place. And so in order to take advantage of the automatic refactoring of client tidy, we really like having that be done inside of a Docker container and like trying to get access to the modified code base inside the container is like too messy, in my opinion. And so having a binary that gets installed in the in your tree directly will give you access to those tools on the tree that you're actually working on. So in correspondence to this, what I'm planning to do is add a install-lvm.sh, which will be in the support directory, which will basically pull corresponding files for your whatever platform you happen to be on and install the binaries into a support/lvm directory. And then there will be a mesos tidy.py file, which will know how to access those binaries that gets installed in tree. And then for your editors, you can point the client tidy integration. The client format integration to point at the binaries inside support/lvm, and you should have the Mesos specific patches on top.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we should migrate the documentation to Mesos repo.
Which documentation?
This one, for example.
Okay.
It'd be nice to have I plan to do the Mesos mini one too. Having those documentation inside same repos so that people knows about how to use those. I don't know about this until today.
Yeah. Right.
Right. Yeah, it'd be nice to do that.
Yeah. So the reason why I have it here is mainly because I use Travis and AppBear to create the images, or to build the binaries.
Yeah.
Because I have access to an OS X box through Travis, as well as a Linux box, and AppBear gives me a Windows box. Maybe we have access to those platforms on Jenkins. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think we have a. Yeah, I do think we have a Windows box in Jenkins.
Okay.
We do have OS X. I don't know if that works or not, but I think we definitely have Windows box. Otherwise,
why does that say NA on last success and failure and run?
Yeah, I mean, we have Windows build bot, right? So definitely we have some box for Windows.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Anyway, and yeah, I guess the Mesos tidy stuff, if you haven't seen it, has some cool checks. We recently enabled the Mesos disk capture thing, and so if you've seen situations where you capture a disk pointer in your Lambda, but don't defer to yourself as an actor, then it'll tell you.
That's awesome.
You're not deferring properly.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. That's about it.
Sweet. So for Mesos tidy, is the intended workflow for that just for like contributors and committers to run it manually while developing before committing?
Yeah. So it's pretty expensive actually to run it. And so that's why it's not a commit hook. I think it's okay as a post commit hook right now, which is what it is, right? It just runs in CI and afterwards, and after you commit something and tells you like, that's not good or whatever.
Yeah.
You can, like with, pulling the binaries down, you can run them locally just by running Mesos.py or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, the intended workflow, I don't know.
So you have a Jenkins job right now, like every single commit you check you run contacting on that.
Right.
And send an email back if there's an issue.
Yeah. It sends it to build.
Yes, I filter those build emails.
Builds.
Is there a way? Okay, I have to figure out. I have to filter those build emails.
It caught something that me and Alexander committed yesterday.
Okay.
So it's working.
Oh yeah, that's the redundant get check, right?
Yeah.
So Benjamin recently did a big refactoring where there were a bunch of places where it was like star x.get and the .get is redundant, so we get rid of those. So there's little things like that.
It's just expensive to run it on every chain, like to make the review bot run that.
Make review bot run it.
Yeah, that's another thing.
That way we could have prevented, for example, landing something.
Yeah, that seems good to me.
Yeah, that's a good question. The review bot code is like scary to me, so I don't really like to go near it. But I think
we could add an error bot that does that maybe. Without having to touch.
It will be easier if we use GitHub.
Would it?
Yeah, it will be easier. I mean, the CI will be easier.
Oh, I see.
You just check out the PR that people submit to GitHub, and then just run tidy on the current head.
Yeah, I think the thing about the review board is that, like right now, it's like, I mean, the review bot is like pretty slow, like really slow.
That's because our CI is slow.
Yeah, I think that's because of the Jenkins infra.
Yeah, like
In general, I mean,
fast.
ultimately, just Mesos build is slow.
Yeah, so Mesos build is slow, and so and like today what happens is the client tidy builds. Well, it's gotten a lot faster because we use CMake now, but we didn't. But like initially we were like building the entire code base to actually get all the artifacts properly, and so doubling the review bot job because we built Mesos twice was like, oh my god, that's too expensive, and so that's why initially we didn't do it. But that's the other thing that this would help with, which is to reuse the build artifacts that happened from a previous build, right? So that it doesn't have to do work itself. And so we should probably be able to leverage the build that already happens for review bot job and point tidy to the existing build directory and be able to work off of it.
Yeah, you can copy the artifacts from one Jenkins job to another.
Yeah, or maybe just do it the single job. I don't know.
Or do a single job. I mean, it's up to you. Yeah, I think it's doable. Like Jenkins has this way you can copy the artifacts from one job to another job.
Right. Yeah. And so we could probably make it happen.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I encourage all the committers here to get access to Jenkins. Like, not every single of you have access to Jenkins. Like, if you go to Jenkins,
Yeah, I don't think I do.
.org, you don't have right access. You can only read it. Ping Benage and the infra team on that so that they give you access to those Jenkins boxes, and then build pipelines for whatever things that he wants to do.
Yeah, access to Jenkins would be great.
Yeah, maybe not everyone knows. So if you need permission, so just create an infra Jira. Then someone will get back to you very quickly.
Cool. Yeah, we're going to do a cleanup to see how many of these jobs right now in Mesos folder is actually being used versus it just running, nobody cares. Like, I don't know what
PowerPC.
PowerPC. What's the release? Do we use that? Yeah, I'm going to do some cleanup on that Jenkins job. I know some of them like WebBot, TidyBot is actually active, GoBot is active.
Yeah.
Like OSX, I don't know, it's disabled.
Yeah, pretty sure it was offline for a while or something. The machine was.
Yeah. This one, okay, this one is active. Just like it's grayed out, it's always failing. Okay. Anything else? No? All right, that's it. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.